Mangwana ni malelepo fukinjani kwekwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura on Friday. How's it going, Glenn?
It's going very well. You're looking so good.
Thank you, as are you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. But I think next week Friday I need to,
yeah, but
up the stakes.
It is Africa Good Morning.
Yes, it is Africa Good Morning. Taking a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast, UK is breaching international law by continuing to arm Israel, Sunak is warned. SA's former National Assembly Speaker and Member of Parliament granted 50,000 rand bail with conditions, and a slavery tribunal, Africa and Caribbean unite on reparations. We'll also be speaking to Mike Sichula, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Zambia.
Getting into our top stories, 3 former Supreme Court justices are among the signatories of a 17-page letter that also urges ministers to work toward a ceasefire and resume funding to the UNRWA agency. The UK is breaching international law by continuing to arm Israel. Rishi Sunak has been warned. 3 former Supreme Court justices are among 600 lawyers and academics who have signed the 17-page letter to warn the president's situation in Gaza is catastrophic. The government has been facing growing calls to suspend arms exports to Israel after 3 British aid workers were killed in an airstrike. John Chapman, Jim Henderson and James Kirby were among 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers who died when a convoy they were traveling in was hit on Monday in what the Israel Defense Forces has called a grave mistake. The letter warns that given the International Court of Justice's opinion that there is a plausible risk of genocide, the UK government is legally obliged to act in preventing it.
Swinging over to South Africa, former National Assembly Speaker and Member of Parliament Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula has been granted 50,000 rand bail with conditions. Mapisa-Nqakula made her first appearance in the Pretoria Magistrates Court on Thursday after handing herself over to police at the Littleton police station in Tshwane. Her court appearance comes a few days after the Pretoria High Court dismissed her application to block her arrest for alleged corruption. Magistrate Anna Oosthuizen handed down her ruling, saying she was satisfied that Mapisa-Nqakula had persuaded the court that on the balance of probabilities, it was in the interest of justice for her to be released. A condition of her release was that she should surrender her passport to the police and have no contact with witnesses. State Prosecutor Becky Manyati asked for bail to be set at 100,000 rand, but Mapisa-Nqakula's lawyer Graham Kerr Phillips argued that this was unnecessarily high. Kerr Phillips said the former National Assembly Speaker could only afford 50,000 rand. The state plans to add another accused in the matter who will be asked to hand themselves over. Proceedings were postponed to the 4th of June. Mapisa-Nqakula is facing 12 counts of corruption involving 4.5 million rand dating back to when she was Defense Minister.
Now, support is building among African and Caribbean nations for the creation of an international tribunal on atrocities dating to the transatlantic trade of enslaved people, with the United States backing a UN panel at the heart of the effort. A tribunal modeled on other ad hoc courts, such as the Nuremberg trials of Nazi war criminals after World War II, was proposed last year. It has now gained traction within a broader slavery reparations movement, Reuters reporting based on interviews with a dozen people People reveals. Formally recommended in June by the UN Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, the idea of a special tribunal has been explored further at African and Caribbean regional bodies, said Eric Phillips, a vice chair of the Slavery Reparations Commission for the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, which groups 15 member states. Now, the scope of any tribunal has not been determined by the UN Forum, recommended in the preliminary report that it should address reparations for enslavement, apartheid, genocide, and colonialism.
Somalia sent the Ethiopian ambassador in Mogadishu back home on Thursday and closed 2 consulates in the semi-autonomous region of Puntland in the breakaway region of Somaliland due to a dispute over a port deal. 2 Somali officials said. Ethiopia's foreign ministry spokesperson Nebihu Tedla said it did not have information on the matter. The prime minister's spokesperson did not respond to requests for comment. Landlocked Ethiopia agreed a memorandum of understanding on January the 1st to lease 20 kilometers of coastline in Somaliland, a territory that Somalia says it owns, even though the northern region has enjoyed effective autonomy since 1991. Ethiopia said it wants to set up a naval base there and offered possible recognition of Somaliland in exchange, prompting a defiant response from Somalia and fears the deal could further destabilize the Horn of Africa. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud called the deal illegal and said in February his country would defend itself if Ethiopia goes ahead with it.
Now, getting into our next story, Angola officially assumed on Wednesday its seat on the Peace and Security Council of the African Union in the 2024-2026 biennium. The event was marked by the placement of a flagpole with the country's flag at the entrance of the Julius Nyerere building, where the CPS operates at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, capital of Ethiopia. In the same place are the flags of the other countries recently elected to that permanent decision-making body of the AU for the prevention, management, and peaceful resolution of conflicts, which acts as a collective and advanced warning structure to facilitate, in a timely manner, a effective response to conflict and crisis situations in Africa. Now, after the symbolic ceremony, the PSC met with the African Union Commissioner for Political Peace and Security Affairs, Bankole Adeoye, to review the strategic plan for the period post-African Union transition mission in Somalia. Stay with Africa Good Morning as we talk to Mike Sichula about the news stemming from Zambia after the break.
Hello, Namapia! Ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
By the Easter shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. Please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, it's actually.
All right, it's time for us to talk to Mike Sichula in Zambia as he brings us the latest stories. The first story being in a bid to address the 500 megawatts national electricity deficit, Zambia will import 90 megawatts of power from Mozambique. Mike Muribwanji, please get straight into your story.
Tiribwino Muribwanji, Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. Yes, indeed, the signing ceremony took place during the sidelines of the 56th Southern Africa Power Pool Executive Committee meeting being held in Chongo here in Zambia. So Zambia has signed an agreement with Mozambique to import 90 megawatts of power, actually to address the 700 electricity megawatts, that is the national deficit. So during the signing ceremony, ZESCO Managing Director Victor Mapeni says the power imports are meant to cushion the current power deficit arising from the drought which Zambia is facing. So Zambians, we are now experiencing 8 hours of load shedding. So it is expected that Zambia and Mozambique again will sign an additional 40 megawatts of power purchase, which will enable Zambia to have at least a balance in terms of how they can manage the electricity load shedding, which many small-scale business people have complained that it is killing their businesses. So this is something that the Zambia Electricity Corporation hopes that it is going to address the deficit. But like I've said, the deficit is 700 megawatts of power. So the 90 is not going to address the matters as people expect, so that they have power most of the day.
Now, in your next story, authorities have revealed that Zambia Airways will procure 2 more planes to boost the aviation sector. Can you get into this?
Yeah, so the Zambia Airways is running the Zambia Airline in cooperation with the Ethiopian Airlines. So Transport Minister Frank Tayari says the 2 planes, government to procure 2 Boeing planes, 777-700 for Zambia Airways, so that to make the airline competitive. So the minister said this during the 25th anniversary for Ethiopian Airline in Zambia. And also the Minister of Tourism, Lodney Sikumba, appealed to the Ethiopian Airline Group to consider opening another route from Lusaka to Livingstone up to Cape Town in South Africa. So there has been an indication that the airline has to procure this so that it becomes competitive in the region, so that it can also bring on board other routes that it is not covering. Then also during the same event, Ethiopian Airlines Group Chief Commercial Officer Lemi Ganata said the airline has transported over 13 million passengers since 2021.
All right, now the KK at 100 birthday celebrations have been launched. Could you tell us more?
Yeah, so KK Kenneth Kaunda was supposed to celebrate his 100th birthday this year. So government has since launched the KK at 100 birthday celebrations. So these celebrations will be celebrated from now until his birthday, which was supposed to be his birthday on the 28th of April this year. So during the celebration, there was the Minister of Tourism, and also there was also one of his sons, Tirienji Kaunda. He also attended these celebrations. So it is expected that the celebrations will cover the entire country, because as we know, late President Kaunda was the founding president of Zambia. And also the celebrations, it was during this launch of the celebrations that the minister mentioned plans to establish a KK Foundation Museum. And also he did indicate that the KK exhibition, the late Kaunda is going to be given a statue in Angola, Rwanda, and also that people who are interested can also bring their information, so that information of how Kaunda contributed to the liberation of Zambia, so that this information can be kept in a museum for future generations. So it is something that is going to be exciting, and also it is going to be a celebration because they believe Kaunda did a lot for Zambia, not only for Zambia, but across the African continent.
Now, in the last of your stories, today is D-Day for the Copper Queen's quest to book their place at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Should we cross our fingers?
Yeah, so Zambia is looking for a back-to-back qualifications to the Olympics. They will be facing Morocco, the Atlas Lioness of Morocco today at Levi Manawasa Stadium at 19 hours. So Zambia goes into this match knowing that if they pick up a good win, then it will be something that they can bank on when they go to Rabat on the 9th of April this year. So it is something that Coach Bruce Mwape believes that he has got enough ammunition in the name of Babla Banda, Rachel Kundanandi, as well as Grace Chanda, who has since returned to the team after suffering an injury during the recent World Cup. So it is going to be a crunchy match, because Morocco is being captained, is being coached by George Vaida, who was the coach of the Spanish women's team that won the World Cup. So it is something that Bruce Mwape believes that his team must be ready to counter whatever attacks that Morocco brings to the match. One thing our viewers need to know is that Morocco has not beaten Zambia in the last 3 encounters. The other two, the latest 2 encounters, Zambia won in Morocco. So a number of expectations. The people believe that this should be not the time that Morocco should beat Zambia, because Zambia wants to make history to go back to the Olympics back to back.
All right, and we certainly wish them all the best. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from Zambia.
Thank you very much. Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. Have a lovely weekend.
We'll definitely have a lovely weekend indeed. Up next is the weather before we return with economic news.
Now in South Africa, Corruption Watch yesterday released its 12th annual report, pointing to mining at 38% as an area topping the list of complaints received last year. The independent watchdog said the second highest number of complaints from the public were in the policing sector at 23%, followed by business 16%, basic education 12%, and state-owned entities 11%. Corruption Watch said the report, Changing the Landscape, bore stark witness to the path South Africa finds itself after 30 years of democracy and the reality of the multiple crises that threaten the fulfillment of the state's electoral and constitutional mandate. It said poor leadership and lack of accountability has eroded public trust and confidence in the state's capacity to deliver on the promise of an equal and just society.
The first phase of the implementation of the toll program in Angola is scheduled to start in 2025 will cover the border areas of Luvo and Nukwai, Zaire Province, Luau, Santa Clara, and Masiba and Yema. This was announced this Wednesday in the province of Kwanza Norte by the Minister of Public Works, Urbanism and Housing, Carlos dos Santos, at the end of an observation visit to the road infrastructure in this location. Now speaking to the press, the government officials said that the project, which aims to raise revenue to ensure the conservation of roads, will be aligned with a program to implement scales on the country's main national roads with a view to regulating the excess weight of vehicles.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. In some Premier League action last night, Liverpool went back to the top of the table by 2 points after defeating Sheffield at home at Anfield 3-1, and Manchester United fell to Chelsea when Chelsea managed to score 2 goals in about a minute, winning that clash 4-3. Manchester United and Liverpool will be clashing on Sunday, and Ari Hogard will bring you the sports after economic indicators.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It's English Premier League, 5 games played on Tuesday, and it was 2 games that ended in a win and 3 in a draw. The games that ended in a win was Nottingham Forest that beat Fulham by 3-1, and Bournemouth they beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Then big games was played. Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham played to a 1-1 draw, and then Newcastle and Everton also 1-1 draw, and Burnley and Wolverhampton also the same score, 1-1. So it is significant in the race for the top 8, because at the moment it is West Ham on in 7th position on 45 league points, followed by Newcastle in 8th position on 44, and then Brighton and Wolverhampton on 42 each. So it's a very close 9 and 10 there, Brighton and Wolverhampton. That is the English Premier League. On to tennis news, and it is the Charleston Open that's being played, women's WTA tennis. It's being played on clay, and the number 1 seed from America, Jessica Pegula, a tough first round game for her. She beat Anna Anasnova by 3-6, 6-4 and 7-6. And then also number 3 seed, Maria Sakkari, she safely through, beating Victoria Tomova by 6-3 and 6-3. The winner of the previous week tournament, that was the Miami Open, that's Diane Collins. She had a good start on clay. Obviously, the Miami Open was played on hard surface, and she beat Paula Badosa of Spain by 6-1 and 6-4. And then to close off today's international sports news, it is cricket news from the Indian Premier League. It's continuing. It's a tournament with lots of games, and the latest game, the Super Giants beat the Royal Challengers Bangalore by 28 runs. A good result there for the Super Giants. It is Quinton de Kock of South Africa that scored runs for the Super Giants. What happened in the game was the Super Giants 181 for the loss of 5 wickets, and Quinton de Kock scoring 81 runs from just 56 deliveries. The Royal Challengers Bangalore, they've got a great batting lineup. Opening pair is Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis, and then Glenn Maxwell of Australia also playing in that team. But it was Virat Kohli out for 22, Faf du Plessis out for 19, and Glenn Maxwell out for a duck, and they only scored 153 runs in response to the 181 for 5 of the Super Giants. So it is the Royal Challengers Bangalore, a difficult season for them so far. They're in 9th position out of the 10 teams, and they've also played 4 games. The Super Giants up to 4th position, and they've played 3 games so far. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Let's have a look at the highlights. UK is breaching international law by continuing to arm Israel, Sunak warned. Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula granted 50,000 rand bail with conditions. Mining tops corruption watches list on graft in South Africa.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning all week. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwood Berry. Seraja Kanaka.